Okay, so now we're up to the TMNT all CGI animated movie that picks up with the Turtles after the defeat of the Shredder, who is absent from this movie entirely. Now, I remember when this was released in the cinemas and I remember being super excited about it. It was really the first Ninja Turtles movie we'd had since Ninja Turtles 3. And it is generally unclear whether this movie does follow on in any way, shape or form from any of the other movies, although some of the other movies are hinted at with little Easter eggs here and there, and we'll get onto that a little bit later. And this movie did actually boast quite a good voice cast, and I'll just mention a few that you'll probably recognise. Chris Evans as the voice of Casey Jones, Captain America himself, Sarah Michelle Gellar as April O'Neil, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Kevin Smith was actually in it as the diner cook, nice little cameo though, which I never actually realised that until this moment. The character Winters was voiced by Patrick Stewart, who played Captain Picard in Star Trek, and the narrator at the beginning of the movie was played by Lawrence Fishburne, Morpheus, out of The Matrix. And we have Nolan North as the voice of Raphael. Now, if Nolan North's name sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you're a gamer. Nolan North has voiced quite a few popular characters in quite a few popular video games. The one that springs to mind with me is the character of Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series on the PlayStation. Very good games and a very, very good voice actor. Now, let me just give you a little bit of insight into this film. We pick up with the Turtles, like I said, after the defeat of the Shredder, and they've basically got nothing to do really. Leonardo's gone on a retreat to boost up his leader skills, and all the other Turtles are basically trying to make ends meet back home in New York. You've got Donatello. He is now a tech advisor who's on call to give help to people who have PC problems and things like that. Mikey now works as a children's entertainer, doing things such as birthday parties, and he does these birthday parties whilst wearing a giant, massive turtle head as a disguise. So he's a turtle dressed as a turtle doing birthday parties. Leo has retreated to Central America to help villagers from bandits whilst learning how to become a better leader, as I just mentioned. And then we get to Raphael, who has been spending his nights dressed up as a metal-clad nightmare called the Night Watcher, which he keeps secret from his other brothers. He's become like this kind of like vigilante who stalks criminals at night. And April and Casey have their own business tracking down rare antiques. And that is actually where we get a lot of the plot from April tracking down some ancient antiques for a gentleman called Max Winters, who is an immortal ancient general who has hired the Foot Clan led by Karai to help him find 13 monsters. 3,000 years ago, the general opened a portal that made him immortal. Open a portal to make him immortal. That rhymed, but it wasn't intentional. So when he did open this portal, he also released 13 monsters, and his 4 sibling generals were turned to stone in the process. Now, in the present, he has found a way to reanimate his statue generals and starts to hunt down the 13 monsters so he can become mortal, although his siblings have other plans to rule and quickly double-cross him because they don't want to be mortal, they want to stay immortal and remain strong statue creatures, I presume, to rule without him. So the Turtles must regroup at a time when they couldn't be further apart, when the city needs them the most. Now, ever since this movie come out, I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of the best Ninja Turtle films made, apart from the first film. And I think generally, all Turtle fans seem to love this film and rank it up there with the first movie. Now, I do think a few people had issues with the character designs, mainly the Turtles themselves. Some thought they were oddly shaped. Their faces and their feet and hands looked out of proportion, and the way they moved almost looked frog-like, like they were Teenage Mutant Ninja frogs almost. Now, I think it was just something to get used to, because after years of watching this movie, I actually like the design now. It's different, but I like it. I remember when I first saw the trailer for this, and I was hyped to see the Ninja Turtles in CGI for the first time, and this film did not disappoint. It's got everything. It's got action, humour, heart, and above all, a good story, and that's why this movie is solid. Now, as I said before, I'm not sure if this movie was intended to be a direct follow-on from the live-action trilogy, or just a loose follow-on, but there are some scenes that feature some really cool Easter eggs. There is one scene where we get to see the Ninja Turtles trophy room from their past adventures. You get to see the Shredder's helmet sat there on the shelf. You get to see the time travel scepter from the Ninja Turtles 3 movie, and you also get to see an empty canister of the ooze from TCRI sat right there on the shelf next to all these other items. You also get to see some Japanese armour, which may or may not be the same armour they wore in the third film. It's unclear. But there are quite a few other things in that trophy room as well, which I didn't recognise. But if you're a Turtle fan, maybe you would be able to spot a few things in there and tie them to some kind of Ninja Turtle adventure that you've either read or seen in the cartoon. Now, just going back to whether this movie is a follow-on to any of the other movies, I'm going to sway towards probably not. I think they just pay a lot of fan service into this film, and that is fantastic. They hint at some kind of battle between the Turtles and the Shredder that had gone on in the past that probably we don't know about, never got to see. But like I said, it is said that the Turtles did defeat Shredder in battle. Whether they want you to tie it to a previous film that you've seen or a cartoon, or just kind of accept that the Shredder was defeated in a part of the story that we just don't get to see. But I will say this, that this movie also had a lot of loose ends. The movie was always hinting at future movies. We had Karai promising the return of Shredder, and when the movie finished, it just felt like there was more to say. Now, it was rumoured that there were sequels planned, which saw Mikey join the Foot Clan, but with good intentions. The other Turtles would have travelled to Japan and eventually face the Shredder once again, but this movie never did see the light of day. There was also talks of Dimension X and the Technodrome, which would have been interesting, but no Rocksteady and Bebop due to copyrights once again. So I'm guessing this movie didn't do as well as they wanted it to, and that's a shame because it would have been nice to see a sequel to this film and see where they would have gone with the story, but it didn't happen. But at least we got one good movie out of it that a lot of Ninja Turtle fans seem to enjoy, and I, for one, am very happy we got it. And if you haven't seen this film, I do recommend you seek it out and give it a go, even though I've just told you most of the plot. It's a very good film, and you should seek it out and give it a watch.